Have you ever woken up to a quiet house and wondered, is this peace or is it loneliness? It's a question more and more people ask themselves as they enter their later years. Living alone can be a beautiful, liberating experience. You set your own rhythm. You wake when you please, cook what you like, and spend your days exactly how you want to. But let's be honest, alongside that freedom can come a few invisible traps. And if we're not careful, those small things we ignore today can quietly chip away at our well-being tomorrow. I'm here to talk with you, not at you, about what really matters when it comes to living alone after 60. This isn't about fear or gloom. It's about awareness, strength, and how we can make this chapter of life not just manageable, but meaningful and fulfilling. So today, I want to share a few things that many older adults, maybe even you, might not realize they should avoid. These aren't dramatic or complicated, but they can make a world of difference. Let me begin with something many people underestimate: isolation. Not the kind where you're physically alone, because sometimes that's just how life turns out, but the emotional and social isolation that creeps in over time. It doesn't always arrive with a bang. Sometimes it slips in quietly, like when days go by and you realize you haven't heard another voice besides the TV or the radio. Maybe it starts with skipping that weekly phone call, putting off a lunch date, or deciding not to join that local club because you're not in the mood. Before you know it, the silence becomes normal, and reconnecting starts to feel like effort rather than joy. I once read a story from a woman who lived alone for years. She said, "I didn't mean to stop talking to people, I just slowly forgot how." That stayed with me. We're social creatures, no matter how introverted or independent we think we are. Connection isn't a luxury. It's a lifeline. The good news is staying connected doesn't have to mean being out every day or hosting parties. It can be as simple as joining a weekly community class, volunteering for a cause that touches your heart, or even setting a reminder to call someone you care about every Sunday afternoon. One woman I know started reading to children at a local library every Thursday. Another joins a virtual book club from home. These little rituals keep the spirit open. They remind us we still belong, that we still matter. And if you've ever felt invisible, let me remind you, you are still seen and still needed. Now let's talk about something even easier to overlook: your health. When you live alone, it's shockingly easy to say, "I'll call the doctor tomorrow," or "I'll take the walk later." And then tomorrow turns into next week, and next week into next month. With no one around to nudge you, you may find yourself skipping medications, forgetting appointments, or simply not noticing changes in your body until it's too late. I remember a gentleman who admitted he hadn't seen his doctor in over a year, not because he was avoiding it, but because he just kept saying, "I'm fine." Then one day, he wasn't. And the truth is, many health issues don't announce themselves with sirens. They whisper. And if we're not listening, we miss them. If you're living alone, I encourage you to treat your health like it's your best friend, because it is. Set reminders on your phone or write them on a calendar. Make your doctor appointments as routine as getting groceries. You don't need to run marathons, but you do need to move. Even a 15-minute walk outside, breathing in the morning air, can lift your mood and strengthen your heart. And don't forget your emotional health. Just because you're alone doesn't mean you need to carry everything by yourself. If you're feeling low, anxious, or restless, reach out. Talk to someone. A friend, a counselor, a support line. There's absolutely no shame in needing to talk it out. In fact, it's one of the bravest things you can do. Now, while we're on the subject of well-being, let's not ignore safety. As we get older, our homes, once filled with joyful chaos, can turn into quiet, unnoticed obstacle courses. A rug slightly out of place, dim lighting in the hallway, a slippery kitchen floor. These might seem small, but they can change everything in a moment. One woman shared how she fell in her kitchen and couldn't reach the phone for hours. That's when she invested in a personal emergency response button, a small device worn around the neck or wrist. It brought her peace of mind, knowing that if something did happen again, she wouldn't be left alone. Making your home safer isn't about being fearful. It's about being wise. Add brighter lights where needed. Secure rugs and clear walkways. Keep essential items like your phone, glasses, and medication within easy reach. And if you can, set up a check-in system. Maybe a trusted neighbor or family member calls you once a day. It's a simple routine that ensures you're safe without feeling monitored. But even beyond physical safety, there's another quiet risk: falling into unhealthy habits. When you live alone, there's no one around to notice how many cookies you're snacking on at midnight or how many days in a row you've skipped breakfast. There's no gentle voice suggesting you turn off the TV and go outside for a bit of fresh air. And because no one's watching, it's easy to lose track. One woman shared that after her husband passed, she started eating dinner on the couch every night, watching old sitcoms, not because she enjoyed it, but because it felt like something to do. It wasn't until she caught a glimpse of herself in the reflection of the TV, slouched, distracted, sad, that she realized how far she'd slipped. She began preparing meals again, setting the table for one, lighting a candle. It felt silly at first, she said, but slowly she started feeling like herself again. That's the thing. When you treat yourself with love and care, even when no one's watching, you start to remember that you deserve that love, and your habits begin to reflect it. So be mindful of what you eat, how often you move, and how you spend your time. Small changes can gently shift your entire world. Living alone doesn't mean giving up on joy, structure, or connection. In fact, it's an invitation to rediscover them in new ways, on your own terms. And as we continue this conversation, we'll explore even more ways to protect your peace, your health, and your sense of purpose. Because this season of life, with all its quiet beauty, still holds so much promise. Sometimes when we have the whole house to ourselves, it can feel like a blessing. Quiet mornings, no one else's schedule to manage, complete freedom to do things our own way. But other times, that same silence begins to stretch out. The space that once felt comforting starts to feel a little too big, a little too empty. That's when something else can quietly sneak in, feeling like you need to do it all on your own. It's one of the most common traps many older adults fall into. The idea that independence means never asking for help, that needing assistance somehow takes away from your dignity. But here's the truth. Independence and support are not opposites. You can be fully in charge of your life and still reach out when something is too heavy to carry alone. I once heard a story from a woman who was fiercely independent her whole life. She managed the household, raised children, worked a full-time job, paid every bill. But after her husband passed, she started taking on everything: repairs, grocery runs, cleaning, all by herself. At first it was fine, but over time, the exhaustion began to build. Still, she didn't want to burden her children. It wasn't until she fell trying to change a ceiling light bulb that she finally accepted their help. And you know what she said afterward? "I thought asking for help meant I was giving up. But really, it meant I was letting love in. We don't need to prove anything anymore. We've done the hard work. It's okay to let others show up for us, whether that's a neighbor helping bring in groceries, a friend checking in, or even hiring someone for housekeeping or yard work. When you allow others to support you, you're not losing independence. You're making space for community, for ease, and for peace of mind." Now that we're talking about spaces, let's take a look at the home itself. When the children grow up and move out, or after a spouse passes away, the house often stays the same size, but life inside it changes. That home, once filled with laughter and footsteps and the hum of daily life, can start to feel like too much. Too many rooms, too many chores, too many memories pressing in from all sides. It's something that's deeply emotional and deeply practical at the same time. I remember one man who shared how he kept his entire family home intact for years, even after all 3 of his kids had left. He said he felt guilty even thinking about moving, like he was betraying the life he had built. But over time, he noticed he was using only 2 rooms in the whole house and spending more energy on maintaining the space than enjoying it. Eventually, he chose to downsize, not because he had to, but because he wanted to make room for a new chapter. His new place was smaller but filled with light and ease. He had less to clean, more time to rest, and a home that fit his current life, not just his past. Now, downsizing isn't for everyone. If your home brings you comfort and you're able to manage it well, that's wonderful. But even then, it's worth asking, are there ways to make it more manageable? Can you hire help for tasks that wear you out? Can you organize things to reduce clutter and stress? Your home should support you, not burden you. You deserve to feel safe and relaxed in your space, not overwhelmed by it. And while we're here, let's talk about something even more profound: the feeling of purpose. One of the hardest adjustments people talk about after retiring or losing a life partner is that quiet question that creeps in. What now? When the job ends, when the daily caretaking responsibilities shift, when the hustle slows down, we're left facing ourselves in a different way. And sometimes, it feels like we're just passing time instead of living fully. But here's the thing, your life still holds incredible value. Purpose doesn't end when the kids leave or the work stops. If anything, this is the time when you get to choose your purpose freely. And it can be anything that brings meaning to your day. Maybe you've always wanted to paint, or start a small garden, or write down your life stories for your grandchildren. Maybe it's mentoring younger people, volunteering, or simply being the kind soul who always smiles at strangers during your morning walk. These things matter. They ripple out in ways we don't always see. One man I knew started tutoring high school students in his neighborhood, just a few hours a week. At first, he wasn't sure he had anything to offer, but soon he became the trusted grandpa figure they looked up to. He said it gave him a reason to wake up with joy again. That's what purpose can do. It reignites the light inside of you. And if you're still searching for that spark, that's okay too. Give yourself permission to explore. Try new things without needing to be perfect at them. This chapter is yours to shape. Take your time. Just don't believe the lie that your purpose is behind you, because it's not. It's right here, waiting in the moments you choose with intention. But when we're deep in this solo journey, it's easy to forget that we don't have to carry all the weight. Many people begin to feel like asking for help is admitting defeat. But really, it's recognizing that you're human. You've spent your life caring for others. Let them care for you too. Whether it's asking your niece to fix a leaky faucet, having a friend drive you to a doctor's appointment, or hiring someone to clean the windows, leaning on others is not weakness. It's wisdom. And while we're caring for ourselves emotionally and physically, let's not forget the space around us, the home we've created. When no one else is coming by, it can be easy to let little things go. The dishes sit a bit longer. Papers pile up. That drawer you meant to clean stays jammed full of who knows what. It happens gradually, and before long, it can affect how we feel inside. One woman shared how, after her husband passed, she slowly stopped caring about her home. The clutter grew, and so did her sadness. It wasn't until a friend came over and gently helped her sort through things that she realized how deeply her environment had been affecting her mood. A tidy home doesn't just look better, it feels better. It can lift your spirit, give you clarity, and help you feel more in control. You don't have to deep clean every day. Start small. Pick one drawer, one shelf, one corner. Make your space reflect how you want to feel. Peaceful, safe, alive. Living alone in later life isn't just about surviving. It's about thriving in a new way. With care, connection, and a little curiosity, this chapter can be just as rich and full as any that came before it. There's something powerful about choosing to live alone in your later years. It's not always the easiest path, but it can be one of the most freeing. You learn things about yourself that you never had the time or space to notice before. You grow in ways that surprise you. And yet, with all this independence comes the responsibility of caring for not just your heart, but your time, your space, your future. One of the most overlooked parts of that responsibility is simply keeping track of time. It sounds so basic, doesn't it? But ask anyone who's been retired for a while, and they'll likely tell you that the days begin to blend together. Without the rhythm of a job or a packed calendar, you can go from Monday to Thursday without feeling the difference. Meals get delayed, sleep schedules drift, and before long, there's a quiet kind of confusion. What day is it again? It's not just about organization, it's about emotional stability. Having a sense of routine, of structure, is like having a gentle anchor in your day. It reminds you that time still has meaning, that your moments are still yours to shape. A man once told me how he began to feel lost after retiring. The first few weeks felt like a vacation, but then the stillness turned into aimlessness. So, he created his own routine. Every Monday, he'd do groceries. Tuesdays were for laundry. Thursdays, he met an old friend for coffee. And every morning, he went for a walk at exactly 7:30. It gave me a reason to put on my shoes, he laughed. But deeper than that, it gave his life rhythm again. You don't need to create a strict schedule. Just build small rituals into your days. Wake up at a consistent time. Enjoy your meals at the table. Have something to look forward to each week. A phone call, a TV show, a hobby. These little things help the days feel like days again, not just empty space. But sometimes, it's not the days we lose. It's the past that weighs us down. When you live alone, surrounded by memories, it's easy to hold on to everything. Every photo, every trinket, every piece of clothing that once belonged to someone you loved. There's no one else there to say, "Do we still need this?" And so, we keep it all. I understand that. Truly. Letting go can feel like erasing someone or losing a piece of ourselves, but it's not. One woman shared how after her husband died, she kept every single thing he owned, his clothes, his books, even his old slippers by the bed. It gave her comfort until it didn't. Over time, the house began to feel like a museum instead of a home. With her children's help, she slowly went through his belongings. She kept a few things that meant the most and let the rest go. She even took photos of items before donating them so the memories would stay. She told me something I'll never forget. I wasn't throwing away the past. I was making room for the future. Decluttering doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing what to carry forward. Keep the treasures. Let go of the things that no longer serve you. Not because you're moving on, but because you're still moving forward. And you deserve to feel light in your own space. Of course, while we're shaping our homes to feel more peaceful, we can't forget something critical: emergency preparedness. It's one of those things people tend to overlook until it's too late. When you're living alone, especially as you get older, being ready for unexpected situations becomes essential. A power outage, a fall, a storm. These aren't just inconveniences anymore. They can become real risks. One older man shared his experience during a snowstorm. The power went out, and while he had food, he hadn't charged his phone or prepared backup lighting. For 2 days, he sat wrapped in blankets, unable to reach anyone. It was frightening, he said, not just the cold, but the helplessness. After that, he put together a simple emergency kit: a flashlight, extra batteries, shelf-stable food, water, and a portable charger. He even kept a printed list of emergency contacts on the fridge in case he couldn't access his phone. He said, "I hope I never need it again. But if I do, I'll be ready." That's all it takes, just a bit of foresight. Check in with yourself. Do you know where your flashlight is? Are your medications easy to grab if you need to leave quickly? Do you have a backup power bank for your phone? These aren't things we enjoy thinking about, but preparing for them now brings real peace of mind later. And while we're on the subject of peace of mind, there's one more area that can cause more stress than we realize: our finances. Living alone means no one else is checking your mail, sorting your bills, or reminding you about auto payments. It can be surprisingly easy to let things slide. A bill gets buried under a pile of flyers. A subscription renews for something you no longer use. Months pass before you even notice the money draining out. It's not because we're careless. It's because managing everything solo, especially if a partner once handled the finances, can feel overwhelming. One woman admitted she didn't even know the password to her online banking when her husband passed. For a while, she just hoped everything was being paid. But eventually, she realized she needed help. With the support of her daughter, she created a simple system: a binder for documents, a list of automatic payments, and a monthly review of her accounts. She didn't become a financial expert, but she took control. And that gave her confidence. You don't need to manage every dollar down to the cent, but try to keep things organized. Automate what you can. Review your statements once a month. And if you're not sure about something, ask. A trusted friend, family member, or even a financial advisor can help. There is no shame in needing guidance. In fact, it shows wisdom and self-respect. Because that's really what this entire journey is about. Respect for your time, your health, your safety, your space, and your peace. Living alone in your later years doesn't have to be lonely. It can be rich with freedom, full of gentle routines, and surrounded by meaning. Yes, it takes a little more effort. Yes, it requires some planning. But it's your space, your life, and it's still filled with opportunities to grow, love, connect, and thrive. So take care of your body like it's your oldest friend. Treat your home like a garden, tended with patience and care. Let go of what no longer lifts you. Hold on to what fills you with warmth. Stay connected, even in small ways. And never ever believe that asking for help makes you weak. It makes you wise. If this message spoke to you today, I invite you to share your own story in the comments. Whether you're living alone now or thinking about it, your voice matters, and someone out there may need to hear what you've learned. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. We have many more conversations like this to share. Conversations about living fully, aging gracefully, and embracing this season of life with strength, humor, and heart. Here's to you, living your best life, one peaceful step at a time.